The Creed cover, like, was, I know he's not like in the center of the panel of like just like the general like whole setup. I mean, guess he's technically centered in the group, but literally like the focus is on Justice. My question is like, why did Mishima give Creed a reason to exist in the story and then immediately kill him off? I thought that was just like, it's one of those real just unfortunate side character things. Like, yeah, you didn't get to really have an existence because your existence literally was just to have like an abrupt murder in the series. But yeah, Justice looking cool on there. Victory, I'm so curious now of what his character is gonna be like about, since like randomly Creed had a important backstory role. Like, it's not like he was some like huge character vital of the story all of a sudden, but obviously like he had like a level of importance as like a royal of like a member of a royal family of an entire planet. So it's like that's at least like a level of stature that would give him an important backstory aspect. But that's like all he got. The Mishima got rid of him. But maybe Victory's backstory is he's just some dude who, like, you know, joins the whole Interstellar Union, and that's it. He's just a normal guy. But Jesse, like, I don't really understand why Jesse is that surprised. Like his reaction is like probably the first time somebody would have ever shot anybody, because he's how exactly is he not, one, able to control himself, and then two, surprised what's happening after he pulled the trigger on Creed. Like, there's definitely something wrong with this dude at this point. But then we get over Wise coming in after him hearing the gunshot. A very sad line from Homura about like everyone who gets close to her ends up dying. And I mean, to a degree, it's kind of true. Like, only in the idea of from contact with Elsie, because the stuff with Valkyrie, I wouldn't say it's technically her fault. I mean, it sort of is actually as well. Not like in the way that she did it, but obviously like her existence in the way that she sees it. Because it's like, I was thinking about it, it's like, well, no, Valkyrie only went over there for Homura. So Homura's definitely got a bad track record for it. And I know it's like, and I know it's not her fault, but it's like, man, that's a really sad line when you really think about how she sees things with this. But then Rebecca runs into Laguna. Like, they're just saying like they pretty much have Izuna inside of the canister. They're just keep moving along. There's a short like peek into the Shiki Shura fight, and Shura is saying that he just wants he wants to know if Shiki is interested in what's going on at the temple, and he explains that like temple is like the capital of Nero's empire, and that Ziggy is fighting Nero. I like how when he says that, obviously he wouldn't know unless he suddenly got information about Jaguar, but it's funny to think about that, and then when you look at the chapter and see like where Jaguar really kind of steps up. And I have some questions about Jaguar's character in a second, but I sure is like saying who would win. His money was on Ziggy, but at the end of it, he mentions that there's 20,000 electrically charged Imperial I'm not fumbling words, Imperial antimatter bombs, and he is going to pretty much just set them off, destroy the entire planet, and that even one has a power to destroy a small planet. So he's just setting off this massive array of weaponry like all at once. And I'm so curious again. I wish we got some actual like in universe planet like information just out in the cosmos of like Mishima explaining some of like the natural like setup of the planets. Because when he says small planet, it's like the smallest known planets we've seen in Eden Zero are really small. Like, you look at Zhao Mei's planet, you look at that little desert planet that Amir went to. Forestra's not very big. It's weird because it's like, even something like Forestra, it's really only like a couple miles across. Whereas then you get to stuff like Blue Garden and stuff. Where Blue Garden I feel like is the planet that's the closest at least to like Earth, unless we get anything stated to be like a massive planet. We can get to like absurd sizes like how they can do in fiction. Actually, that'd be cool if Mishima just had one absurdly gigantic planet, but like the rest was fine. Like, out of all the rest are kind of like real world. I guess not real world, but like much more reasonable planet sizes, and then just something like really crazy like star-sized planets just out somewhere in space. But like the whole setup with that is pretty interesting, because Shura is a character that I really want to get to, like how he ticks, because clearly like him just getting ready to throw his father away and just destroy him so he could have the Empire is a real cold move. And personally, I feel like it's still gonna be revealed, or at least tied to how Nero raised him, because Nero seems to see everything as like units. He seems to think everything is almost like pieces on a board and he's controlling the dice, where Shura seems to have that same thing, and why he has no, like, people that he doesn't really, and if somebody who he doesn't have interest with seems to be very expendable, almost like an object to him. And like we've seen that the way that when he kills people it's like a non-factum. It's not even like he's a serial killer or something, or he takes delight in killing people. He just does it like, okay, yeah, whatever, I'm just gonna kill you now, not a big deal. So Shura's definitely got some like screws loose, but I feel like that's just the most logical thing, at least that I can see, is it has to do with how Nero and the way that Nero is and how he raised him. And there's also the comments from Izuna saying like he never knew love, so it's clear that his father was probably not a real dad to him, or at least in a lot of like actual like dad aspects he was just kind of like a teacher, but in this robotic ruler kind of sense in the way. So I just got my fingers crossed. I've had that idea for a bit, and I really want to know what exactly it is, because like as a kid he looked fine, and Nero doesn't seem that like evil. He doesn't seem like that bad of a guy until it gets to something where it's like when he doesn't really see people in his empire as people. They're just kind of like units within his empire. Like when it gets down to the way that he kind of just looks at everything in his empire. Again, I say it's like pieces on a game board to him. It's just stuff that he owns, and it is within his pretty much within his kingdom that he runs. But Shura getting ready to kill him and kind of just wanting to have everything afterwards, again, is something that I really want to get to his backstory for, and see like what Mishima will decide is the origin of Shura, and what changed him from like that little kid that he was just happy with like messing with like ether gravity, and now is like a psycho killer and just a lunatic pretty much. And then we get back to the actual big fight, and the fact that we only have really Shura versus Shiki left, I'm hoping we focus on this fight, because Mishima even like sped up the process of the fight in this specific chapter, like just this chapter alone. So if we could get focus on that, and then finally, you know, end the arc with Shura versus Shiki, I think that'd be great. I want to see what big people in Eden Zero can do. Like I want to see what like people of their caliber can actually do in a full out match. Just like the large scale damage and their full force. And especially like we see like nothing about Nero's ability in this chapter at all. Nothing that kind of would like show off him power level wise, because it's clear that he himself is actually strong. That him as a character is powerful if he's able to fight with Ziggy. So like it starts out, Ziggy's like saying that he doesn't really intend to fight Jaguar. Jaguar is just somebody who's intervened with him, and he's like saying, "Oh, you know, I don't have time for small fry." And he summons down Brigadine, you know, one of the Dark Stars, who attacks Jaguar, and Jaguar is able to rip him apart pretty easily. Like he's able just to completely demolish him. And there's a line in there when Nero's talking, is like, you know, he was part of the Erasmus Galactica at one point, and that he was beyond any one person's control. He's like, oh, you know, when he joined the Interstellar, he rose up through the ranks and got to where he spot. Ziggy's just like, I don't really care about this. Like, who cares about some random weak dude? Even when he's saying, you know, that guy who's a small fry rivals our power. I mean, obviously not, unless he gets his ass back up. Because even when he's showing feats of like, oh wow, he's actually is like a higher tier than Ziggy was saying. He just rips right apart Brigadine. Brigadine gets completely demolished in little to no effort. But Ziggy is like saying, oh, okay, well that's not even really the point. And this was the part that really gives a lot of tell on Ziggy and the way that Ziggy sees things, because he's saying, oh well, it doesn't really matter even if you were able to beat to beat Brigadine, because he's saying Brigadine's power was that he's a distraction entirely, so a killer can go assassinate him and just go up and stab him. So literally, Brigadine is the sacrificial pawn. It doesn't really matter what happens to him. I was actually so worried at this sequence because I wasn't sure who he was gonna be fighting this chapter. I figured it was gonna be a three-way fight, and then Brigadine shows up. Brigadine gets demolished pretty quickly, and then Killer shows up, and I was so worried that Mishima was gonna bring out Joker, and Clown. It's not his name, right? Clown. I haven't gotten to like actually see his character, so I forget like his name, because like these dudes have done absolutely nothing except for what's his name, Wizard, the dude doing the pretty much magic. But here comes Killer, and Jaguar immediately just like swings back and crushes his head and defeats him. And Ziggy's like actually surprised to beat two of the Dark Stars. It uses his gravity and just kind of like locks the dude in place. And that's when Nero just goes and like flicks what I would assume it are his dice, and they go right through Jaguar's face. Now they don't look like they go through any vital organs, because the top one is the closest that I'd say like is anywhere dangerous, but it looks like it's coming more out the side. Same thing with the blast on the lower right hand of the panel, and the middle one looks like it's maybe on like his cheek or side of his mouth. I don't think he's dead, because it doesn't even look like I don't think it's enough of a wound to really take him down. He got stabbed and was having no problem. But Ziggy's like, oh, you were pretty precise and quick to kill him. So I don't really know if Mishima is actually implying he's dead, or that's just how Ziggy perceived it. But while Nero was talking to him, he's like, okay, whatever. Like, this guy was just someone to be there, but now we're gonna fight. Okay, let's do this. Let's go. And I don't know, Ziggy fighting him, like, I know Ziggy is obviously really powerful, and we haven't got to like the hacks of gravity ether gear. We've mostly just seen gravity manipulation. I wonder if he's gonna pull anything in this fight out, like a black hole or something just real crazy. I personally would think wormholes would be cooler if Mishima did that instead of just like because gravity straight to like a black hole. I think making a wormhole would be so much cooler if Ziggy's just teleporting around, opening like little rifts in space. He could probably do a lot of cool things. And I think wormholes I'm pretty sure they can accelerate people, because like just the way they work. So would Shiki and him be able to kind of just like use one to make like just a general gravity propelling attack way stronger? That'd be pretty cool. I'm hoping Mishima does that. Again, wormholes, way cooler. But while they're just kind of talking, and Ziggy's saying how that he wants to build this mechanical life form kind of like world only for robots, and Nero's like, okay, I know you're trying to take my empire, whatever. What exactly happened to you after everything? He was like saying how he used to speak about Mother and his dream and stuff, and Ziggy is just saying like, oh, everything is connected, the machines, Mother, the chronophages. I'm wondering if, like, there's a lot of people that have the whole theory that Ziggy is from the future, and I'm wondering if Mishima does that. Is Ziggy trying to orchestrate of how events from time are going to eventually happen? Like, is he just kind of like creating something to make sure an event happens? Because he's saying these are all connected. Maybe he's the one that makes initially their chronophage or something, and he's just trying to kind of like fulfill his part that he like it exists in the story. Like, he's just kind of like seeing what he has to do to make time go like properly or something. Who exactly knows? Mishima's weird about time travel stuff. I'm just trying to figure out what Ziggy's can possibly mean while saying like the machines are connected to the chronophages and Mother. But I'll just have to wait and see. Nero, though, like, I don't understand like the idea of like that Nero plans to do here. Again, we haven't seen like the entirety of what his ether gear does, but when he's talking to him and he's like even saying like some weird stuff, he's like, I don't know what factory produced you, but your date of manufacture will also be the date of your death. And I thought that was a pretty cool line. After this, they're going about this, and Ziggy's like saying, this is the day that he was born. and it's technically his birthday. He's like, well, okay, well, it's cool. I guess you're gonna die on that same day. Let's go. Like he's funny because so far Nero's just good at talking like pretty good shit, but he hasn't done anything that would like actually live up to his level. I really want to know what exactly he does. He has to have some crazy OP ability with those dice. If he's just throwing them at people and like they're doing a lot of damage, but what exactly makes him so strong? I want Moshima to at least focus on this fight for one chapter so I can figure out what exactly Nero is supposed to do. But Ziggy is Ziggy, so like we know he's extremely powerful. How Mishima plans to do this, I don't know. It's going to really depend on what exactly Nero is going to pull out to battle him. Because the whole connection between Shura and Ziggy is just, it makes it so much harder to determine what exactly Nero does, because it takes away the idea of like, oh, well, maybe because they're related that they will have a similar abilities, not like in just blood, but kind of like association. Like Mishima decided instead of being able to teach him Emperor Dice or Empire Dice, whatever it is, that he decided to give him a completely different power, so we have nothing to really gauge what Nero does other than he has dice for some reason. So next chapter, need to get to the next chapter. Like, it's probably one of the biggest things that I am impatient about in series is when there's an attack named or some form of very vague aspect of a power is going to be used either in how it works or trying to tease what it is with the name of it. I always am impatient for stuff like that and like new forms. Whenever a form is revealed but it's teased at the end of a chapter, those make me so agitated every time that I gotta wait. Like everything else I can be pretty chill on, but like that whole specific scenario always gets to me. But anyway, other than that, solid chapter. Again, I really hope Mishima focuses on this, especially since the only other fight is with the main character. But pretty good stuff. And please, I want to get to the Nero Ziggy fight, both in terms of hype, but also seeing what exactly Nero does.